The afternoon sun felt warm on Colonel Park Min-jun's face as he drove through the quiet streets of Riverside Heights. His trunk was full of groceries from the store. He had bought everything his wife needed for the week. The neighborhood looked peaceful. Kids played basketball in one driveway. An older man watered his front lawn. Everything seemed normal. Min-jun checked his watch. He had time before his son's soccer practice ended. He thought about stopping for coffee but decided to go straight home. The groceries needed to get into the refrigerator soon. He turned left onto Maple Street, his usual route home. That was when he saw the flashing lights in his rearview mirror. Min-jun felt his stomach tighten. He had not been speeding. His car registration was current. All his lights worked. He checked them himself last week. But he knew this feeling too well. He had felt it before more times than he wanted to count. He pulled over carefully. He turned off his engine. He placed both hands on the steering wheel where they could be seen clearly. His military training kicked in. Stay calm, follow procedures. Don't give anyone a reason to escalate. The police car stopped behind him. Min-jun watched in his side mirror as an officer stepped out. The man was tall and heavy with a red face and small eyes. His hand rested on his belt near his weapon as he walked toward Min-jun's car. Everything about his body language said he expected trouble. Min-jun rolled down his window and kept his hands visible. License and registration, the officer said. His voice was rough and unfriendly. He did not say hello. He did not explain why he had pulled Min-jun over. Yes, officer, Min-jun said calmly. Can you tell me why you stopped me? The officer's eyes narrowed. I'll ask the questions here. License and registration, now. Min-jun moved his hands slowly and clearly. I'm reaching for my wallet in my back pocket, he said. He made every movement obvious. He had learned long ago to announce everything he did during traffic stops. You fit the description of a suspect, the officer said, as Min-jun pulled out his wallet. The officer's name tag read Thompson. What description? Min-jun asked politely. What kind of suspect? Don't worry about that, Thompson said. Just give me your documents. Min-jun handed over his license and registration. His hands stayed steady even though his heart beat faster. He had faced enemy fire overseas. He had led soldiers through dangerous situations. But something about this moment felt more threatening than combat. In combat, the rules were clear. Here, he did not know what Thompson might do. Thompson looked at the license. His face showed no reaction. Step out of the vehicle. Can you please tell me what this is about? Min-jun asked. He kept his voice level and respectful. I said step out of the vehicle. Thompson's voice got louder. Are you refusing to follow orders? No, officer. I'm just asking why you stopped me. Out of the car. Now Min-jun saw movement in his peripheral vision. An older woman had come out onto her porch 2 houses down. She held her phone up, pointing it toward them. A man walking his dog across the street had stopped to watch. Min-jun opened his door slowly and stepped out. He wore khaki pants and a simple blue shirt. Nothing threatening. Nothing suspicious. Just a man coming home from the grocery store. Turn around. Hands on the car, Thompson ordered. Min-jun did as he was told. The warm metal of his car pressed against his palms. Thompson kicked his feet apart roughly, wider than necessary. Min-jun felt hands patting him down hard, checking his pockets. What robbery? Min-jun asked. When did it happen? What does the suspect look like? You asked too many questions, Thompson said. He pulled Min-jun's arms behind his back. Metal handcuffs clicked around his wrists tight enough to hurt. This isn't right, Min-jun said. His voice stayed calm but firm. I have done nothing wrong. What is your reasonable suspicion for this stop? You fit the description, Thompson repeated. And you're being uncooperative. I've answered every question. I've followed every order. Min-jun kept his military composure, but anger burned in his chest. I want to speak with your supervisor. You'll speak to whoever I say you'll speak to, Thompson said. He pushed Min-jun toward the back of the patrol car, not gently. More neighbors had come outside now. A younger man with a beard held up his phone, clearly recording. An older couple stood on their porch, the woman's hand covering her mouth in shock. A teenager on a bicycle had stopped on the sidewalk. Is everything okay? The man with the beard called out. Police business, Thompson shouted back. Mind your own business and move along. But nobody moved. They all watched. Some of them whispered to each other. More phones came out. Thompson opened the back door of his patrol car but then seemed to change his mind. He left Min Jun standing by the car, still handcuffed, while he went back to Min Jun's vehicle. "You can't search my car without permission or a warrant," Min Jun said clearly, loud enough for the neighbors to hear. Thompson ignored him. He opened the driver's door and started looking through the car. He opened the glove compartment. He checked under the seats. He even popped the trunk and began going through the grocery bags. Min Jun watched, his jaw tight. This was illegal. Thompson had no right to search his car. But what could he do? He was handcuffed. He was Asian in a mostly white neighborhood. He knew how this might look if he protested too loudly. One wrong move, one word Thompson decided was threatening, and things could get much worse. The woman on the porch called out, "Officer, is that really necessary?" "He was just grocery shopping." Thompson spun around, his face red. "Ma'am, I will arrest you for interfering with police business if you don't go inside right now." The woman stepped back but did not go inside. She kept her phone up. Min Jun closed his eyes for a moment. He thought about his wife, Seo-yeon, waiting for him at home. He thought about his son at soccer practice. He thought about the 3,000 soldiers under his command who trusted him. He thought about all the times he had put on his uniform to serve his country. And here he stood, handcuffed like a criminal, because some cop decided he fit a description. He had fit descriptions before. He had been followed in stores. He had been pulled over for broken taillights that were not broken. He had been asked if he spoke English even though he had no accent. But this was different. This officer was not just suspicious. Thompson was angry, looking for a reason to make this worse. Thompson slammed the trunk closed and walked back to where Min Jun stood. "No weapons," he said, sounding almost disappointed. "Of course there are no weapons," Min Jun said. "I told you I was just buying groceries." "We'll see about that," Thompson said. He pulled out his radio. "Dispatch, this is Unit 7. I need you to run a name for me." Min Jun heard another siren in the distance, getting closer. Backup was coming. Thompson must have called for it, but why? What had Min Jun done that required backup? A second patrol car pulled up. Min Jun felt a small bit of relief. More officers meant witnesses. It also meant someone might question what Thompson was doing. A female officer stepped out of the second car. She was shorter than Thompson, with her dark hair pulled back tight. Her face looked younger, less hardened. Her name tag said Chen. She walked up to Thompson. "What do we have here?" "Suspect matching the description of the robbery on Oak Street," Thompson said. Chen glanced at Min Jun, then back at Thompson. "The electronics store robbery?" That suspect was wearing a hoodie and jeans. "This man is in business casual." "Could have changed clothes," Thompson said quickly. Chen's eyebrows went up slightly. She looked at Min Jun more carefully. She seemed to notice what Thompson had not or refused to see. Min Jun stood straight despite the handcuffs. His posture was military perfect. His clothes were neat and clean. His car was a modest sedan, well-maintained but not flashy. Grocery bags were visible in the open trunk. This did not look like a robbery suspect. This looked like a man coming home from the store. "Did you ask for ID?" Chen asked Thompson. "It's in my hand," Thompson said, holding up Min Jun's license, but Min Jun could see it now. The way Thompson held the license, Chen could not read it easily. Thompson was not sharing information. He was controlling it. Chen walked over to Min Jun. "Sir, I'm Officer Chen. Are you okay?" It was the first kind word anyone had spoken since this started. Min Jun felt some of his tension ease just slightly. "I'm handcuffed for no reason," Min Jun said. "I was driving home from the grocery store. I wasn't speeding. I broke no laws. Officer Thompson pulled me over, said I fit some description, and handcuffed me without explanation." Chen turned to Thompson. "What description exactly?" Thompson's face got redder. "Asian male, dark hair, driving a sedan." Chen stared at him. "That could be 10,000 people in this city." "He was in the area," Thompson added. "Oak Street is 15 blocks from here," Chen said. Her voice stayed professional, but Min Jun could hear the doubt in it. The radio on Thompson's belt crackled. "Unit 7, dispatch. No active warrants on that name." "Record is clean." Thompson grabbed his radio. "Copy that. Stand by for further." Chen looked at Thompson hard. "His record is clean. What are we doing here?" "Running a proper check," Thompson said stubbornly. Min Jun watched the two officers. Chen clearly questioned what was happening. But Thompson was the senior officer here. Would she actually stand up to him? Or would she go along with it like so many others did? The man with the beard called out again. We've got all this on video, officers. We can see everything you're doing. Thompson's hand moved to his radio again. I'm calling for a supervisor. But Minjun wondered, was Thompson calling for a supervisor to help him? Or was he calling because he knew he was wrong and needed cover? Either way, Minjun stayed still. He stayed calm. He kept his mouth shut except to answer direct questions, because that was what he had to do. That was what his father had taught him. That was what he had learned through years of being Asian in America. Stay calm. Stay polite. Stay alive. And hope that someone somewhere would see that this was wrong. Officer Chen walked back to Thompson, away from Minjun but still within earshot. She kept her voice low, but Minjun could hear some of what she said. Derek, what's really going on here? She asked. I told you. He matched the description, Thompson said. His voice was sharp and defensive. A description that could fit thousands of people, Chen said. And his record is clean. Why is he still in cuffs? Thompson's face turned darker red. Because I haven't finished my investigation yet. When did you start questioning my judgment? Chen pressed her lips together. Minjun could see her struggling. She was younger, probably newer to the force. Thompson clearly had seniority over her. Speaking up could cost her, but she did not back down completely. Can I at least see his license? Thompson handed it over with obvious reluctance. Chen looked at it, and Minjun saw her expression change. Her eyes widened slightly. She looked up at Minjun, then back at the license, then at Thompson. Derek, this says he's... I can read. Thompson cut her off. Anyone can fake an ID. This is a military ID, Chen said. It says he's a colonel. Yeah, and I'm a general, Thompson said sarcastically. You think every ID is real? People fake this stuff all the time. Minjun watched Chen's face. She did not look convinced. She walked over to Minjun's car and looked inside through the open door. Thompson had left things messy from his search. Papers from the glove compartment lay on the passenger seat. A military commendation certificate had fallen onto the floor. Chen bent down and picked it up. She read it carefully. Then she went to the trunk and looked through it more carefully than Thompson had. Past the grocery bags, she found Minjun's gym bag. She opened it and pulled out his military uniform. She held it up so Thompson could see. The rank insignia was clear. Colonel. The name tape said Park. Rows of ribbons decorated the chest, including medals for combat service. Derek, Chen said quietly. I think we need to uncuff him. Not until I'm satisfied with this investigation, Thompson said stubbornly. A third car pulled up. This one was marked differently. It was a supervisor's vehicle. A sergeant stepped out, older than both Thompson and Chen. His uniform was crisp, his movements confident. He had gray hair at his temples and the weathered face of someone who had been doing this job for decades. His name tag read, Martinez. Martinez walked up to the scene, taking it all in with experienced eyes. He saw Minjun in handcuffs. He saw the neighbors watching and recording. He saw Thompson's defensive posture and Chen's uncomfortable stance. What's the situation? Martinez asked. Potential robbery suspect, Thompson said quickly. Matched the description. I pulled him over for investigation. Martinez looked at Minjun. Their eyes met, and something flickered in Martinez's expression. Recognition? Confusion? Minjun was not sure. Sir, Martinez said to Minjun, his tone respectful. Have we met before? I don't think so, Sergeant, Minjun said carefully, but Martinez kept staring. Then his eyes went wide. His face went pale. Colonel Park? Minjun said nothing. He just nodded slightly. Colonel Park Minjun? Martinez said again, his voice rising. From Fort Henderson? Yes, Sergeant, Minjun confirmed. Martinez turned to Thompson so fast he almost stumbled. You handcuffed Colonel Park? How was I supposed to know? Thompson said. He didn't tell me. You never asked, Minjun said quietly. You never gave me a chance. Martinez moved quickly to Minjun. Sir, I am so sorry. Let me get those cuffs off you right now. He pulled out his keys and unlocked the handcuffs himself. The metal came away from Minjun's wrists, leaving red marks where they had been too tight. Minjun rubbed his wrists. They hurt, but he said nothing about it. Are you okay, sir? Martinez asked. His face showed genuine concern and embarrassment. I'm fine, Sergeant, Minjun said, just confused about why this happened. Martinez turned to Thompson. What description did he match? Asian male, dark hair, driving a sedan, Thompson said. The robbery suspect from Oak Street. That robbery was 3 hours ago, Martinez said. And the suspect was caught 2 hours ago. Dispatch sent out the notification. Didn't you hear it? Thompson's face went blank. Then read. My radio might have been on a different channel. Your radio should always be on the main dispatch channel, Martinez said. His voice was hard now. And even if you missed that, this description is too vague for a stop. He was acting suspicious. Thompson added quickly. How? Martinez asked. How was he acting suspicious? He was asking too many questions. Being difficult, Min-jun spoke up, his voice still calm. I asked why you stopped me. That's not being difficult. That's exercising my rights. Martinez looked at the neighbors who were still watching. He walked over to the woman on the porch. Ma'am, did you see what happened here? The whole thing, she said. I've been recording. That officer pulled him over for no reason I could see. The man was completely polite, but the officer got aggressive right away. He handcuffed him and searched his car even though the man said he didn't have permission. Martinez closed his eyes for a moment like he had a headache. Can you send me that video? Already sent it to my son, the woman said. He's a lawyer, but I can send it to you too. The man with the beard spoke up. I got it on video too, from a different angle. Want me to send it to you? Please, Martinez said. He gave them his email address. Then he walked back to his car and pulled up the dashcam footage from Thompson's vehicle on his tablet. Min-jun watched as Martinez's face got darker and darker while he watched. Thompson and Chen stood nearby, Chen looking nervous, Thompson looking angry. After a few minutes, Martinez looked up. Thompson, this dashcam shows he was polite from the start. He answered your questions. He moved slowly and clearly. There's nothing here that shows suspicious behavior. I know suspicious when I see it, Thompson said. What you see and what's actually there are two different things, Martinez said coldly. He turned to Min-jun. Colonel Park, I owe you a huge apology. This should never have happened. You were stopped without proper cause, handcuffed without reason, and your vehicle was searched without consent or probable cause. I appreciate that. Sergeant, Min-jun said. Martinez continued. For the record, Colonel Park commands over 3,000 soldiers at Fort Henderson. He has 3 combat tours. He has multiple commendations for valor and leadership. He is one of the most respected officers in this region. Some of the neighbors gasped. The woman on the porch covered her mouth. The man with the beard shook his head in disgust. Thompson's jaw tightened. Well, how was I supposed to know all that? He looks like anyone else. The words hung in the air. Everyone heard them. Everyone understood what Thompson really meant. Chen looked horrified. Martinez looked furious. Min-jun just looked tired. He looks like anyone else, Martinez repeated slowly. That's your defense? Officer Thompson, you just admitted you stopped him based on appearance alone. That's not what I meant. Thompson backtracked. I meant he wasn't in uniform. He didn't identify himself as military. Because you never gave me a chance to, Min-jun said. You ordered me out of the car and handcuffed me before I could say more than a few words. Martinez turned to Chen. Officer Chen, what's your assessment of this situation? Chen took a breath. Min-jun could see her making a choice. She could protect her fellow officer, or she could tell the truth. Her career might depend on what she said next. Sergeant Martinez, she said, her voice steady. When I arrived, Officer Thompson told me the suspect matched the description from the Oak Street robbery. But when I asked for specifics, the description was too vague to justify a stop. The suspect allegedly wore a hoodie and jeans. Colonel Park was wearing business casual clothing. The vehicle type was wrong too. Go on, Martinez said. When I suggested the description didn't match, Officer Thompson said the suspect could have changed clothes. But there was no evidence to support that. No clothing in the car, no reason to believe Colonel Park had been near Oak Street. When I asked to see the ID, Officer Thompson was reluctant to show me. Thompson's face was bright red now. You're throwing me under the bus? I'm telling the truth, Chen said firmly. And the truth is, this stop had no legal basis. Martinez nodded. Thompson, I'm ordering you back to the station immediately. You'll write a full report. And I mean full. Every detail of this stop from the moment you saw Colonel Park's vehicle to right now. This is ridiculous, Thompson said. I was doing my job. No, Martinez said. You were doing something else. And we're going to find out exactly what that was. Thompson got into his patrol car and drove away. his tires squealing slightly as he left. The neighbors watched him go, some of them shaking their heads. Martinez turned back to Minjun. "Sir, you have every right to file a formal complaint. I'll support it completely. What happened here was wrong on every level." Minjun looked at his car, still messy from Thompson's search. He looked at his wrists, still showing red marks. He looked at all the neighbors who had witnessed his humiliation. "I need to think about it," Minjun said. "Right now, I just want to go home to my family." "Of course," Martinez said. "But sir, I hope you do file that complaint. Officers like Thompson need to be held accountable. This kind of behavior damages trust between police and the community. It makes my job harder. It makes good officers look bad." "I appreciate your honesty, Sergeant," Minjun said. "Can I ask you something?" Martinez said. "Did we meet at the Medal of Honor ceremony 2 years ago? I think I remember you from there." "You were working security," Minjun said, the memory coming back. "You helped my wife find a bathroom when she wasn't feeling well." Martinez nodded. "I remember now. I remember thinking what an honor it was to meet someone like you." He paused. "Which makes this even more shameful. You serve your country with distinction, and this is how you get treated in your own neighborhood." "It's not the first time," Minjun said quietly. "It probably won't be the last." "It should be the last," Martinez said. "At least from my department, I'm going to make sure of it." Officer Chen stepped forward. "Colonel Park, I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner. I should have pushed harder to get those handcuffs off you." "You spoke up eventually," Minjun said. "That takes courage. A lot of officers don't." Chen looked relieved but still guilty. "If you file a complaint, I'll testify about what I saw and heard." "Thank you, Officer Chen," Minjun said. Martinez helped Minjun put his car back in order. He picked up all the papers Thompson had scattered. He organized the grocery bags in the trunk. He even helped fold the military uniform properly. "Your milk might be warm by now," Martinez said, "after all this time sitting here." "It's fine," Minjun said. "I have bigger concerns than warm milk." The neighbors started to go back to their houses, though a few stayed to talk. The woman from the porch came down to the street. "I'm Margaret," she said. "I live in the blue house. I'm so sorry that happened to you. My husband is a veteran. He would be horrified by this." "Thank you for recording it," Minjun said. "That probably kept things from getting worse." "We look out for each other on this street," Margaret said, "and from now on, we'll make sure to look out for you too." Other neighbors introduced themselves. They offered support. They shared their contact information in case Minjun needed witnesses. They said they would call the police chief themselves to complain. Minjun appreciated their kindness, but part of him wondered where they were the other times this happened. Where were they when other Asian families got harassed? Where were they when black men got pulled over in this neighborhood? It took a crisis, and his military rank, for people to care. Finally, Martinez walked Minjun back to his car. "Sir, I need to say this. Please file that complaint, not just for you, but for everyone else Thompson has done this to, because I guarantee you're not the first." Minjun got into his car. He sat there for a moment, his hands on the steering wheel, in the same position they had been when this whole thing started. "I'll think about it, Sergeant," he said. "I'll talk to my wife." "Fair enough," Martinez said. "Whatever you decide, thank you for your service, both to the country and for staying calm through all this. A lot of men would have gotten angry." "Anger doesn't help when you're handcuffed," Minjun said. Minjun drove home slowly, his hands shaking slightly on the steering wheel. The shaking made him angry at himself. He had faced combat. He had led soldiers through dangerous situations. But this simple traffic stop had rattled him in a way that war never had. In war, you knew who the enemy was. Here, the enemy wore a badge. He pulled into his driveway 30 minutes later than planned. His wife, Seo Yeon, was already at the door before he got out of the car. She must have been watching for him. "You're late," she said, then stopped. She looked at his face. "What happened?" Minjun got out and opened the trunk. The groceries were still there, exactly as Martinez had helped arrange them. "I got pulled over," Seo-yeon's face changed immediately. She had heard this before. Are you okay? Did they hurt you? I'm fine, Min-jun said, grabbing grocery bags. Just shaken up. His son, Ji-hoon, came running out from the backyard, still in his soccer uniform. Dad, you missed the end of practice. Coach said I did great on penalty kicks. Min-jun forced a smile. That's wonderful, son. I'm sorry I missed it. Ji-hoon grabbed some grocery bags to help. Why are you late? Mom said you just went to the store. Min-jun and Seo-yeon exchanged a look. I'll tell you inside, Min-jun said. They brought everything in and put the groceries away in silence. Ji-hoon sensed something was wrong and stopped chattering about soccer. He just helped, glancing between his parents with worried eyes. After the last bag was emptied, Seo-yeon sent Ji-hoon to shower and change. Then she sat down at the kitchen table with Min-jun. Tell me everything, she said. So he did. He told her about Thompson pulling him over, about the vague description, about the handcuffs and the search, about Officer Chen's hesitation and Martinez's horror, about the neighbors who recorded everything. Seo-yeon listened without interrupting. Her face grew tighter with each detail. When he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. They handcuffed you, she said finally, in our own neighborhood for no reason. For being Asian and driving a car, Min-jun said. You could have been hurt, Seo-yeon said. Her voice was shaking now. Min-jun, you know how these things can go. One wrong move, one word they misinterpret, and... She couldn't finish the sentence. I know, Min-jun said softly. I thought about that the whole time. I kept thinking about you and Ji-hoon. Seo-yeon reached across the table and took his hands. She turned them over and saw the red marks on his wrists where the handcuffs had been. Her eyes filled with tears. You serve this country, she whispered. You've sacrificed so much. You've been away for years at a time, in danger, leading soldiers, and this is what you get? Sergeant Martinez suggested I file a formal complaint, Min-jun said. You should, Seo-yeon said immediately. You absolutely should. It will become public, Min-jun warned. There's already video. The neighbors sent it to their families. It could end up on the news. Good, Seo-yeon said fiercely. Let everyone see what happened. Let them see how this officer treated you. Min-jun squeezed her hands. It might affect my career. The military doesn't like controversy. Your career? Seo-yeon said. Your career is fine. You're an excellent officer. Everyone knows that. This isn't about your career. This is about what's right. Before Min-jun could respond, Ji-hoon came back downstairs. He was 14, old enough to understand more than they sometimes gave him credit for. He sat down at the table with them. What's going on? He asked. And don't say nothing. I'm not a kid anymore. Min-jun and Seo-yeon looked at each other. Then Min-jun told his son a simplified version of what happened. He left out some of the scarier parts, but he did not hide the truth completely. Ji-hoon listened, his face growing more upset. But why? He asked. You didn't do anything wrong. No, I didn't, Min-jun said. So why did he pull you over? Min-jun took a breath. This was the conversation he had hoped to delay for a few more years. Because he looked at me and made assumptions based on how I look. Because you're Korean? Ji-hoon asked. Because I'm Asian, Min-jun said. And because he's the kind of person who thinks that's a good enough reason to treat someone like a criminal. Ji-hoon was quiet for a moment. Then he said, That happens to you a lot, doesn't it? More than I'd like, Min-jun admitted. It happens to me too, Ji-hoon said quietly. At school, kids make jokes. They pull their eyes back. They ask me if I eat dog. Seo-yeon gasped. Why didn't you tell us? Because what can you do, Ji-hoon said. You can't stop people from being stupid. No, Min-jun said, but we can stop people from getting away with it when they have power. That police officer has power. He used it wrong. And if I don't say something, he'll do it to someone else. So you're going to file the complaint? Ji-hoon asked. I think I have to, Min-jun said. That evening, Minjun sat down at his computer and started writing. Seo-yeon brought him coffee and read over his shoulder as he typed. He wrote everything down, every detail exactly as it happened. The time, the location, what Thompson said, what Minjun said, what Chen said, what Martinez said. He wrote about the handcuffs that left marks. He wrote about the illegal search. He wrote about Thompson's refusal to listen to reason. And he wrote about how it made him feel. Humiliated, angry, scared, less than human. It took him 3 hours to finish. When he was done, Seo-yeon hugged him from behind. "I'm proud of you," she said. "I haven't done anything yet," Minjun said. "Yes, you have," she said. "You're speaking up. That's brave." The next morning, Minjun called his commanding officer, General James Morrison. Morrison had been his mentor for years. He was one of the best men Minjun had ever served under. "Sir, I need to tell you about something that happened yesterday," Minjun said. He explained the situation. Morrison listened without interrupting, just like Seo-yeon had. When Minjun finished, Morrison was silent for a long moment. Then he said, "That's unacceptable." "Sir, I'm planning to file a formal complaint with the police department," Minjun said. "I wanted you to know in case it affects my position." "Affects your position?" Morrison said. "Colonel Park, you're one of the best officers I have." "This doesn't reflect on you at all. It reflects on that police officer and his department." "It might become public, sir," Minjun said. "There's video." "Good," Morrison said. "Let it become public. People need to see this kind of thing." "And Minjun? I'm going to call Police Chief Wilson myself. He and I served together in Desert Storm. He needs to know what his officer did to one of mine." "Sir, you don't have to." "Yes, I do," Morrison said firmly. "You're part of my command. An attack on you is an attack on all of us. I won't stand for it." After the call, Minjun felt better. He had support. But he also felt nervous. Once he filed this complaint, there was no taking it back. Things would change. He drove to the police station at noon. Sergeant Martinez had told him to ask for Captain Lisa Rodriguez in internal affairs. She handled complaints against officers. The station was busy. Officers moved through the hallways. Phones rang. Someone typed loudly at a computer. Minjun gave his name at the front desk and said he needed to see Captain Rodriguez. The desk sergeant looked surprised. "Is this about yesterday's incident?" Word traveled fast, apparently. "Yes," Minjun said. "She's expecting you," the sergeant said. "Third floor, office 305. Captain Rodriguez was a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and a firm handshake. Her office was neat and organized, with commendations on the wall and family photos on her desk. "Colonel Park," she said. "Thank you for coming in. Sergeant Martinez told me what happened. I've already started a preliminary review." "I have a written statement," Minjun said, handing her the document he had prepared. Rodriguez read through it carefully, making notes on a legal pad. When she finished, she looked up at Minjun. "This is very detailed," she said. "That's good. It helps me build a case." "A case?" Minjun said. "Officer Thompson has been with us for 12 years, Rodriguez said. "I pulled his file this morning. You're not the first complaint." Minjun felt his stomach drop. "How many others?" 7 formal complaints in 12 years, Rodriguez said. "All from minority citizens. All claiming racial profiling or excessive force. All dismissed or resolved internally." "Dismissed," Minjun repeated. 7 people complained and nothing happened? "Each case was reviewed," Rodriguez said. "In most cases, it was the officer's word against the citizen's word. No video evidence. No independent witnesses. The department gave Officer Thompson the benefit of the doubt." "And now?" Minjun asked. "Now we have video from multiple angles," Rodriguez said. "We have Officer Chen's testimony. We have Sergeant Martinez's testimony. And we have you, a decorated military officer with an impeccable record. This case is different because I have rank," Minjun said. "What about all those other people? Were their complaints less valid because they weren't colonels?" Rodriguez met his eyes steadily. "No, their complaints were just as valid. But unfortunately, the system doesn't always work the way it should. Sometimes it takes a case like yours with overwhelming evidence to force change." "That's not right," Minjun said. "No," Rodriguez agreed. "It's not. But it's reality. And now we have a chance to do something about it." She opened a folder and pulled out papers. "I need you to sign some forms. This makes your complaint official. It also means you might have to testify if this goes to a hearing." "I understand," Minjun said. He signed the papers. Rodriguez explained the process. There would be an investigation. Thompson would be interviewed. So would Chen and Martinez. The videos would be analyzed. It could take weeks or even months. "What happens to Thompson in the meantime?" Minjun asked. "As of this morning, he's on administrative leave," Rodriguez said, "with pay per union rules. But he's not on the streets." Minjun left the police station feeling strange. He had done what he set out to do. He had filed the complaint. But he did not feel victorious. He felt tired. That afternoon, his phone started ringing. News stations had gotten wind of the story. Someone, probably one of the neighbors, had posted the video online. It was spreading fast. By evening, it had been shared thousands of times. Minjun's social media filled with messages of support from fellow soldiers and strangers. But there were also angry messages from people who called him a troublemaker, who said he was making things up, who defended Thompson. The local news ran the story at 6 o'clock. They showed parts of the video. They interviewed Margaret, the neighbor who had recorded it. They tried to interview Thompson, but he declined to comment. They did interview the police chief, who said he was deeply concerned and promised a thorough investigation. Minjun watched the news with Seo Yeon and Ji Hoon. Seeing himself on television handcuffed and humiliated made him feel sick. "Is this real?" Ji Hoon asked. "Are people really seeing this?" "Yes," Minjun said. "Good," Ji Hoon said. "Everyone should see what happened to you." That night, General Morrison called again. "I spoke with Chief Wilson," he said.
"He's taking this very seriously."
"He was horrified when I told him what happened." "Thank you, sir," Minjun said. "I also spoke with some veterans groups," Morrison said. "They want to organize a rally in support of you." "They're angry," Minjun. "They want justice? A rally?" Minjun said. He had not expected that. "You don't have to participate if you don't want to," Morrison said. "But they're going to do it anyway." This has struck a nerve. Veterans of all backgrounds are tired of seeing service members disrespected like this. Minjun thought about it. A rally meant more publicity. It meant more pressure on the police department. It might help his case, but it also meant more exposure for his family. "Let me think about it," Minjun said. After the call, he sat on the back porch alone. The night air was cool. He could hear crickets chirping. Everything seemed so normal, so peaceful, but nothing felt normal anymore. His simple trip to the grocery store had become a national conversation. His humiliation was being watched by thousands of people. Part of him wished he had just driven away, just gone home and forgotten about it. But he knew he couldn't have done that. Not with his son watching. Not with all those other victims who had been ignored. Not with his own conscience. Seo Yeon came outside and sat beside him. She did not say anything. She just held his hand. They sat there together in the darkness, listening to the crickets while somewhere out there, the video of Minjun's worst day played over and over on screens across the country. By Tuesday morning, the video had been viewed over 2 million times. Minjun's phone would not stop ringing. News producers left voicemails. Newspapers requested interviews. Civil rights organizations wanted to speak with him. He turned his phone off and went to work. At Fort Henderson, everyone knew. Soldiers saluted him with extra crispness. Fellow officers stopped him in the hallways to offer support. Even the base commander, a 3-star general, called him into his office. "Sit down, Minjun," General Cooper said. She was a tall woman with steel gray hair and a reputation for directness. "I saw the video." "Ma'am," Minjun said carefully. "That was completely unacceptable," Cooper said. "No officer under my command should be treated that way. I've already contacted the mayor's office and the police chief. I want you to know you have the full support of this base." "Thank you, ma'am," Minjun said. "I also want to make sure you're okay," Cooper said, her voice softening. "Not just physically. How are you handling all this?" Minjun had not expected that question. He had to think about his answer. "Honestly, ma'am, I'm angry. I'm humiliated. And I'm worried about my family." "Worried how?" Cooper asked. "My son is 14, Minjun said. He watches this video and sees his father handcuffed like a criminal. What does that teach him about the world? About his place in it?" Cooper nodded slowly. "It teaches him that sometimes the world is unfair, But it also teaches him that his father stands up for what's right. That matters, Colonel. I hope so, Min-jun said. The media wants to interview you, Cooper said. Have you decided what you're going to do? My wife thinks I should, Min-jun said. She says people need to hear my side. She's right, Cooper said. But it's your choice. This base will support you either way. Min-jun left the meeting feeling slightly better. At least his military career was safe. But he still had to decide about the media interviews. That evening, he sat down with Seo-yeon to watch the requests. They had emails from CNN, local news stations, newspapers, and online news sites. Everyone wanted his story. We should pick one, Seo-yeon said. Someone who will take this seriously. They chose a local news anchor named Patricia Kim. She was Korean-American herself and had a reputation for fair reporting. Min-jun called her producer and agreed to an interview. The next day, Patricia came to their home with a small crew. She was professional and kind, putting Min-jun at ease before they started filming. I want you to tell your story in your own words, Patricia said. Don't worry about saying the perfect thing. Just be honest. When the camera started rolling, Min-jun found the words came easier than he expected. I've served this country for 22 years, he said. I've led soldiers in combat. I've been shot at. I've seen friends die. But I've never felt as powerless as I did in that moment, handcuffed in my own neighborhood for no reason except the way I look. What went through your mind? Patricia asked. I thought about my family, Min-jun said. I thought about how one wrong move could turn this into a tragedy. I thought about all the training I've done on staying calm under pressure, and how I was using it not in combat but in a traffic stop. Do you think Officer Thompson's actions were based on racial bias? Patricia asked. Min-jun chose his words carefully. I think Officer Thompson saw an Asian man in a car and made assumptions. I think he never bothered to see me as a person, as a fellow American, as someone who has devoted his life to serving this country. He saw a stereotype and he acted on it. What do you want to happen now? Patricia asked. I want accountability, Min-jun said. Not just for me, but for everyone else Thompson has done this to. And I want change. I want police departments to train their officers better. I want them to understand that badges don't give them the right to treat people as less than human. The interview aired that Friday evening. Within hours, it had been shared across social media. The response was overwhelming. Veterans groups organized rallies in 3 cities. The largest was planned for the following Saturday at the police station. Thousands of people said they would attend. Messages of support poured in from all over the country. Fellow Asian Americans shared their own stories of being profiled. Veterans of all backgrounds expressed outrage. Even police officers from other departments spoke up, saying Thompson's actions did not represent good policing. But there was also backlash. The police union issued a statement defending Thompson. They said he had followed proper procedures and that Min-jun was turning a routine traffic stop into a racial incident for attention. Min-jun read the statement with Seo-yeon. They're saying I made this up, he said, his voice tight with anger. Everyone can see the video, Seo-yeon said. They can see you did nothing wrong. Let them say what they want. The truth is on your side. But the union's statement gave permission to Thompson's supporters. Comments on social media grew nastier. People said Min-jun was playing the race card. They said he should be grateful Thompson did not arrest him. They said he was trying to get Thompson fired to make money from a lawsuit. Ji-hoon saw some of the comments. He came downstairs one evening with his phone in his hand, his face angry. Dad, people are saying terrible things about you online, he said. I know, Min-jun said. Don't read that stuff. But they're lying, Ji-hoon said. They're saying you were rude to the cop. They're saying you deserved what happened. Some people will always defend the police no matter what, Min-jun said. Even when the police are wrong. That's not fair, Ji-hoon said. No, it's not, Min-jun agreed. But that's why we keep speaking the truth. Eventually, the truth wins. He hoped that was right. On Saturday, the rally took place. Min-jun had not planned to attend, but General Morrison convinced him it would mean a lot to the people who came. They're not just supporting you, Morrison said. They're supporting everyone who's been treated this way. You showing up gives them hope. So Min-jun went, with Seo-yeon and Ji-hoon beside him. General Cooper came too in full uniform. So did dozens of other military personnel, both active duty and retired. The crowd was bigger than expected. Police estimated 3,000 people. They held signs saying "Justice for Colonel Park" and end racial profiling, and veterans deserve respect. People of all backgrounds were there. Asian Americans who had experienced similar treatment. Black Americans who knew this story too well. White Americans who were tired of seeing their neighbors treated as suspects. Veterans who had served with people like Min Jun and knew their worth. Min Jun was asked to speak. He stood at the microphone, looking at all those faces, and felt overwhelmed. "I didn't want to be here," he said honestly. "I didn't want any of this attention. I just wanted to buy groceries and go home to my family." The crowd was silent, listening. "But here I am," Min Jun continued. "Here we are. Because what happened to me happens to too many people, and most of them don't have video evidence. Most of them don't have rank and privilege to make people listen. Most of them suffer in silence, afraid that speaking up will only make things worse." He paused, gathering his thoughts. "I'm using my voice not just for myself, but for everyone who can't speak up," he said. "For every person who's been pulled over for driving while brown. For every person who's been followed in stores. For every person who's been treated as guilty until proven innocent, just because of how they look." The crowd erupted in applause. Min Jun waited for it to quiet down. "Change is hard," he said. "It's uncomfortable. It requires good people to speak up, even when it's easier to stay quiet. It requires those in power to admit when the system is broken. But change is possible. And it starts with moments like this, when we stand together and say, 'This is not acceptable anymore.'" More applause. Min Jun saw some people crying. He saw veterans saluting. He saw his son looking at him with pride. After the rally, a reporter asked Thompson for comment. Thompson had hired a lawyer who gave a brief statement. Officer Thompson acted appropriately based on the information he had at the time. The lawyer said, "He is the victim of a rush to judgment. He will fight these accusations vigorously." When Min Jun heard this, he felt his anger return. Thompson still did not understand what he had done wrong. Or worse, he understood and did not care. That week, more information emerged about Thompson's past. Journalists found his social media accounts before he deleted them. There were posts complaining about political correctness. There were shared articles about crime in minority neighborhoods. There were jokes that crossed the line from humor into racism. News outlets published these findings. Thompson's lawyer claimed the posts were taken out of context, but the context was pretty clear. Internal Affairs also uncovered something troubling. They found that all 7 previous complaints against Thompson had come from Asian, Black, or Latino citizens. Not a single white person had filed a complaint. The pattern was undeniable. Captain Rodriguez called Min Jun with an update. "We've contacted the previous complainants," she said. 4 of them are willing to testify at a hearing. Their stories are remarkably similar to yours." "What happened to their complaints?" Min Jun asked. "They were investigated, but in each case Thompson's version of events was accepted over theirs," Rodriguez said. "In 2 cases, the complainants had minor traffic violations on their record, which was used to question their credibility. In another case, the person was an immigrant with limited English, and his statement was deemed unreliable. And no one saw a pattern," Min Jun said. "Some people saw it," Rodriguez said carefully. "But Thompson had supporters in the department. People who vouched for him. People who said he was just doing his job in tough neighborhoods." "Tough neighborhoods," Min Jun repeated. "You mean minority neighborhoods?" "Yes," Rodriguez said. Min Jun felt sick. 7 people had tried to hold Thompson accountable, and the system had failed them. If not for his rank, if not for the video, if not for the media attention, would his complaint have failed too? "What happens next?" Min Jun asked. "The hearing is scheduled for 3 weeks from now," Rodriguez said. "The department will present its evidence. Thompson's lawyer will present his defense. A review board will make a recommendation to the chief. What are the possible outcomes?" Min Jun asked. "At minimum, suspension and retraining," Rodriguez said. "At maximum, termination and criminal charges for civil rights violations. The district attorney is also reviewing the case." "And what do you think will happen?" Min Jun asked. Rodriguez was quiet for a moment. "Honestly, I think he'll be fired. The evidence is too strong. The public pressure is too great. And the chief knows that anything less will look like a cover-up." "That's something at least," Min Jun said. "But Colonel Park," Rodriguez said, "I need to prepare you. Even if Thompson is fired, even if he faces charges, there are no guarantees of conviction. Juries are reluctant to convict police officers, and Thompson's lawyer will argue that he made a mistake in judgment, not a racist decision. So he might walk away from this," Min Jun said. He might, Rodriguez said. I'm sorry. I wish I could promise you justice, but I can only promise you a fair process. After the call, Min-jun told Seo-yeon what Rodriguez had said. It's not enough, Seo-yeon said. He should go to jail for what he did. Maybe, Min-jun said. But at least he won't be on the streets anymore. At least he can't do this to anyone else. Until another department hires him, Seo-yeon said. You know that happens. Bad cops just move to different towns, she was right. Min-jun had heard those stories. Officers fired from one department for misconduct, then hired by another department that did not check their history carefully enough. Then we make sure everyone knows his name, Min-jun said. We make sure his record follows him wherever he tries to go. That weekend, General Morrison invited Min-jun to speak at a diversity and inclusion training session at the base. Officers from all branches attended. Min-jun stood before 200 of his fellow soldiers and told his story again. But this time, he focused on what it meant for the military. We ask young people to serve their country, he said. We ask them to put on a uniform and defend American values. But what happens when they take off that uniform and go home? What happens when they're treated as suspicious, as dangerous, as less than American, just because of their skin color? The room was completely silent. We lose good soldiers, Min-jun said. We lose talented people who could serve with distinction, but who wonder if it's worth it. We lose the moral authority to talk about American values when we can't guarantee those values to our own service members. After the talk, a young Asian American lieutenant approached Min-jun. She was crying. Sir, she said, thank you for speaking up. I've been pulled over 3 times this year. Each time I thought about showing my military ID, but I was afraid it would make things worse. I was afraid they'd think I was showing off or being difficult. You shouldn't have to be afraid, Min-jun said. I know, she said, but I am. My parents are immigrants. They taught me to never cause trouble, to always be polite, to never give anyone a reason to notice us. But being invisible doesn't work either. People still see my face and make assumptions. Min-jun understood exactly what she meant. He had lived that same reality his entire life. What happened to you? It could have been me, the lieutenant said. It could have been any of us. That's why I'm doing this, Min-jun said. So maybe someday it won't be any of you. The lieutenant saluted him, tears still on her face. Min-jun returned the salute, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. This was bigger than just his story now. It was about every person who had been treated as less than human. It was about changing a system that protected bad actors and ignored victims. It was about making sure Ji-hoon grew up in a better world than the one Min-jun had inherited. That night, lying in bed next to Seo-yeon, Min-jun said, I'm scared. Of what? She asked. Of failing, he said. All these people are looking to me. They're counting on me to make a difference. What if nothing changes? Seo-yeon rolled over to face him. Something is already changing, she said. People are talking about this. They're examining their own behavior. They're questioning the system. That's not nothing, but will it last? Min-jun asked. Or will everyone forget in a few weeks when the next scandal comes along? Maybe they will, Seo-yeon said. But we won't. And the people who experience this with us won't. And the next time it happens to someone else, there will be a little more awareness, a little more willingness to believe them, a little more pressure for change. So it's a long fight, Min-jun said. It's a long fight, Seo-yeon agreed. But you're a soldier. Long fights are what you do. Min-jun smiled despite his worry. She was right. He had trained for this his entire career. Not for this specific situation, but for standing up when things got hard, for leading when others might give up, for fighting battles that mattered. This was just a different kind of battlefield, and he was not fighting alone. The hearing took place on a gray Wednesday morning in a conference room at police headquarters. Min-jun arrived early with Seo-yeon. His lawyer David Chen met them in the lobby. Are you ready? David asked. He was a civil rights attorney who had volunteered to represent Min-jun without charge. He said this case mattered to him personally. As ready as I can be, Min-jun said. They entered the hearing room. It was set up like a small courtroom. A long table at the front for the review board. Tables for Min-jun and Thompson on opposite sides. A few rows of chairs for observers. Thompson was already there with his lawyer and a police union representative. He wore his dress uniform, every button polished. He looked straight ahead, not acknowledging Min-jun's presence. The review board consisted of 5 people. 2 were senior police officials. 1 was a civilian appointed by the mayor. 1 was a retired judge. 1 was a community representative from a civil rights organization. Captain Rodriguez sat at a separate table with files of evidence stacked in front of her. The chairperson, Deputy Chief Williams, called the hearing to order. He was an older black man with a serious expression. This hearing will determine whether Officer Derek Thompson violated department policies during his interaction with Colonel Park Min-jun, Williams said. We will hear testimony, review evidence, and make a recommendation to the chief. Officer Thompson, do you understand these proceedings? Yes, sir, Thompson said. Colonel Park, do you understand these proceedings? Yes, sir, Min-jun said. The hearing began with Captain Rodriguez presenting the evidence. She played the dashcam footage from Thompson's patrol car. Everyone watched in silence as it showed Min-jun being pulled over. The audio was clear. Thompson's voice. License and registration. Min-jun's voice, calm and polite. Can you tell me why you stopped me? Thompson's voice, aggressive. I'll ask the questions here. The footage showed everything. Min-jun's careful movements, Thompson's aggressive posture, the handcuffs, the search, all of it. Then Rodriguez played the video from Margaret's phone. It showed Thompson's red face and angry gestures. It showed Min-jun standing calmly in handcuffs while neighbors gathered. Then the video from the man with the beard. This one captured Thompson's words clearly when he said, Min-jun looks like anyone else. The board members took notes. Thompson's lawyer whispered to him, but Thompson just stared straight ahead. Rodriguez presented Thompson's service record. She highlighted the 7 previous complaints, all from minority citizens. She showed the pattern of stops in minority neighborhoods without similar patterns in white neighborhoods. In the past 5 years, Officer Thompson made 437 traffic stops, Rodriguez said. Of those, 381 were of drivers of color. That's 87%. In a city where people of color make up 42% of the population, Thompson's lawyer stood. Those statistics don't prove bias. Officer Thompson was assigned to districts with higher minority populations. His patrol area was 60% minority, Rodriguez said, but his stops were 87% minority. That's well above the demographic baseline. The lawyer sat down. Rodriguez called Officer Chen to testify. Chen looked nervous as she took her seat. She described arriving at the scene and immediately feeling something was wrong. Officer Thompson told me the suspect matched a robbery description, Chen said. But when I asked for specifics, the description was too vague. And it didn't actually match Colonel Park's appearance. Did you voice these concerns to Officer Thompson? Williams asked. Yes, sir, Chen said. I suggested the description didn't match. Officer Thompson said the suspect could have changed clothes. Was there any evidence supporting that theory? Williams asked. No, sir, Chen said. There were no clothes in the vehicle. No reason to believe Colonel Park had been anywhere near the robbery location. What happened when you saw Colonel Park's military ID? Williams asked. I was shocked, Chen said honestly. I realized immediately this was a mistake. I suggested to Officer Thompson that we should remove the handcuffs. He refused. Why did he refuse? Williams asked. Chen hesitated. He said he wasn't satisfied with his investigation. But there was nothing to investigate, Williams said. The robbery suspect had been caught. Dispatch had sent that notification. Did Officer Thompson know this? I don't know if he heard it, Chen said. But I informed him when I arrived. How did he react to that information? He said he wanted to finish checking anyway, Chen said. Thompson's lawyer stood for cross-examination. Officer Chen, isn't it true that you're a probationary officer with less than 2 years on the force? Yes, Chen said. And Officer Thompson is a 12-year veteran? Yes. So isn't it possible that Officer Thompson saw things in this situation that you, with your limited experience, did not see? Chen met the lawyer's eyes steadily. No, sir. What I saw was an illegal stop, an unjustified detention, and an unconstitutional search. Experience doesn't make those things right. There was a murmur in the room. Thompson's face went red. His lawyer looked frustrated. No further questions, the lawyer said. Next, Sergeant Martinez testified. He described recognizing Colonel Park and his immediate horror at what was happening. I've been a police officer for 26 years, Martinez said. I've seen a lot of traffic stops. This one violated every standard we're supposed to follow. There was no reasonable suspicion for the stop. There was no probable cause for the detention. There was no consent for the search. In your professional opinion, Williams said, did Officer Thompson follow proper procedure? No, sir, Martinez said firmly. He violated procedure at every step. Thompson's lawyer tried to challenge Martinez's testimony, suggesting he was biased because he knew Colonel Park. But Martinez shut that down quickly. I didn't know Colonel Park well, Martinez said. I met him once briefly 2 years ago. But I don't need to know him to see what's on those videos. The evidence speaks for itself. The most powerful testimony came from Thompson's previous complainants. 4 of them appeared. All told similar stories. A black man in his 30s described being pulled over while driving in a white neighborhood. Thompson had accused him of stealing the nice car he was driving. It was his own car. A Latina woman described being stopped and questioned about her immigration status, even though she was born in the United States. Thompson had insisted she didn't look American. An Asian American teenager described being stopped while walking home from school. Thompson had searched his backpack without permission, looking for drugs. He found homework. An elderly black man described being pulled over on his way to church. Thompson had made him sit on the curb for 30 minutes while he searched for warrants that did not exist. Each story painted the same picture. Thompson saw people of color and assumed they were criminals. Thompson's lawyer tried to discredit each witness. He brought up minor traffic violations from years ago. He suggested they were lying for attention or hoping for settlements. But their testimony was consistent and credible. The board members' faces showed they were listening seriously. Finally, it was Min Jun's turn to testify. He took his seat and was sworn in. David Chen led him through his account of what happened. Tell us what went through your mind when Officer Thompson handcuffed you, Chen said. I was scared, Min Jun admitted, not just of what might happen to me, but of what my family would go through if something went wrong. I thought about my son. I thought about my wife. I thought about all the news stories I'd heard about traffic stops gone wrong. Did you feel you had done anything to justify being handcuffed? Chen asked. No, Min Jun said. I was polite. I followed orders. I answered questions. I did everything I've been taught to do in these situations. And what have you been taught to do? Chen asked. Min Jun looked directly at the board. I've been taught to be extra careful, to announce my movements, to keep my hands visible, to say yes, officer, and no, officer, to not make sudden movements, to not reach for anything unless told, to accept humiliation without complaint because complaint might escalate the situation. Why have you been taught these things? Chen asked. Because I'm Asian, Min Jun said simply. Because people look at me and see a foreigner, even though I was born here. Because wearing a uniform makes me American enough to die for this country, but taking it off makes me suspicious. Thompson's lawyer stood for cross-examination. Colonel Park, isn't it true that you've had very little interaction with law enforcement prior to this incident? That's correct, Min Jun said. So how do you know Officer Thompson's actions were motivated by racial bias? Couldn't he have had legitimate reasons for stopping you? What were those reasons? Min Jun asked. The lawyer paused. That's not for you to determine. He claimed I matched a description, Min Jun said. But the description was so vague it could match thousands of people. The suspect had already been caught, and Officer Thompson never explained what specific features I shared with that suspect. Other than being Asian. That's your interpretation, the lawyer said. That's what the evidence shows, Min Jun said. I've reviewed the dashcam footage. I've seen what the robbery suspect actually looked like. We don't look similar at all except for our race. The lawyer tried a different approach. You've been very critical of Officer Thompson publicly. You've done interviews. You've spoken at rallies. Isn't it possible you're exaggerating what happened to gain sympathy? Min Jun felt anger rise in his chest, but he kept his voice level. I have been critical of Officer Thompson's actions because his actions were wrong. I've spoken publicly because this happens too often to too many people, and I haven't exaggerated anything. The videos show exactly what happened. You're a high-ranking military officer, the lawyer said. You're used to giving orders and having them followed. Isn't it possible you were offended by Officer Thompson's authority, and that's why you're pursuing this complaint? Now Min Jun's anger showed. I follow orders every day. I also give orders. I understand how authority works, but Officer Thompson didn't use authority. He abused power. There's a difference. No further questions, the lawyer said quickly. After testimony concluded, the board heard closing arguments. Thompson's lawyer argued that his client had made reasonable judgments based on the information available. He painted Thompson as a dedicated officer caught in an unfortunate situation. David Chen gave Minjun's closing. This case isn't about one traffic stop, he said. It's about a pattern of behavior. 7 complaints over 12 years, all from people of color. Statistical evidence showing disproportionate targeting of minority drivers. Video evidence showing Officer Thompson's hostility and bias, and testimony from fellow officers confirming his actions violated proper procedure. Chen paused and looked at each board member. Officer Thompson had a choice when he saw Colonel Park driving that day. He could have seen an American going about his life. Instead, he saw a stereotype. He saw someone who didn't belong. And he acted on that prejudice. Colonel Park also had choices, Chen continued. After this happened, he could have stayed silent. Many people do, but he chose to speak up. Not for himself alone, but for everyone who's been treated this way. He chose to use his privilege and rank to shine a light on a problem this community needs to address. The question before you is simple, Chen concluded. Will you hold Officer Thompson accountable for his actions? Or will you send the message that officers can target people based on race without consequences? Your decision will tell this community whether justice applies equally to everyone. Deputy Chief Williams said the board would deliberate and issue their recommendation within 1 week. The hearing was adjourned. Minjun stood and shook David's hand. Thank you, he said. You did great, David said. Your testimony was powerful. Thompson left quickly, surrounded by his lawyer and union representative. He still had not looked at Minjun once during the entire hearing. Outside, reporters waited. Minjun gave a brief statement. I hope the board does the right thing, he said. Not just for me, but for everyone who's been affected by Officer Thompson's actions. This is about accountability and change. That week felt endless. Minjun tried to focus on work, but it was difficult. Every time his phone rang, he wondered if it was news about the decision. Seo-yeon kept telling him to be patient, but she was anxious too. Ji-hoon asked every day if they had heard anything. On Friday afternoon, Captain Rodriguez called. The board has reached a decision, she said. They're announcing it Monday morning at a press conference. Can you tell me what they decided? Minjun asked. I can't, Rodriguez said. But I'll say this. I think you'll be satisfied. Monday morning, Minjun and Seo-yeon arrived at police headquarters. The press conference was held in a large room packed with reporters. General Morrison came to support Minjun. So did Officer Chen and Sergeant Martinez. Police Chief Wilson took the podium. He was a serious man with graying hair and a somber expression. I've reviewed the findings of the review board in the matter of Officer Derek Thompson, Wilson said. The evidence presented showed a clear pattern of racial profiling and abuse of authority. Officer Thompson violated department policy, violated the constitutional rights of citizens, and betrayed the trust we place in officers. Minjun held his breath. Therefore, I am accepting the board's recommendation, Wilson said. Effective immediately, Officer Derek Thompson is terminated from this police department. Additionally, I am referring this case to the district attorney for potential criminal prosecution on civil rights charges. The room erupted. Reporters shouted questions. Cameras flashed. Minjun felt Seo-yeon grab his hand. Wilson continued speaking. I also want to apologize to Colonel Park and to every person who was harmed by Officer Thompson's actions. We failed you. Our oversight systems failed to catch this behavior before it reached this point. That's unacceptable. Moving forward, Wilson said, we are implementing new policies, mandatory bias training for all officers, stricter review of complaints, body cameras that must be active during all public interactions, and a civilian oversight board with real authority to investigate misconduct. After the press conference, Wilson approached Minjun personally. Colonel Park, I'm sorry this happened. You deserved better from this department. Thank you, Chief, Minjun said. But the real question is whether these changes will actually happen. They will, Wilson said firmly. I give you my word. And I'd like you to be part of that process. Would you be willing to speak to our officers about your experience? To help train them? Minjun thought about it. Yes, he said. If it helps prevent this from happening to someone else, I'll do it. Outside, reporters swarmed around Minjun. He gave a short statement. I'm grateful for this decision, he said. But it's just one step. Real change requires ongoing commitment. I'll be watching to make sure these reforms actually happen. That evening, the news covered Thompson's firing extensively. The police union issued an angry statement promising to appeal. Thompson's lawyer said they would fight the criminal charges, but for now at least, Thompson would not be on the streets. He would not be pulling over innocent people. He would not be handcuffing someone for driving while Asian. Min-jun sat with his family that night, watching the news coverage. Ji-hoon leaned against him. "You did it, Dad," Ji-hoon said. "We did it," Min-jun corrected. "Everyone who spoke up, everyone who recorded video, everyone who demanded justice. That's how change happens." Seo-yeon kissed his cheek. "I'm proud of you." "It's not over," Min-jun said. "There's still the criminal trial. They're still making sure the police department follows through on reforms." "I know," Seo-yeon said. "But tonight let's just celebrate this victory." So they did. They ordered pizza. They watched a movie. They were just a normal family having a normal evening, and for the first time in weeks, Min-jun felt like he could breathe. The district attorney filed criminal charges against Thompson 2 weeks after his firing. 2 counts of civil rights violations, 1 count of illegal search and seizure, 1 count of false detention. Thompson pleaded not guilty at his arraignment. His lawyer told reporters they would fight every charge. The police union continued to support him, setting up a legal defense fund. But public opinion had turned decisively against Thompson. When his old social media posts resurfaced, showing racist memes and anti-immigrant comments, even some of his supporters backed away. The trial was scheduled for 6 months later. In the meantime, Min-jun focused on keeping pressure on the police department to implement real reforms. Chief Wilson invited him to speak at the police academy. Min-jun stood before a class of new recruits, all young and eager, and told his story. "Some of you are wondering why I'm here," Min-jun said. "You're thinking this is just one bad officer, one mistake. Why should all of you have to hear about it?" The recruit shifted uncomfortably. "I'm here because Officer Thompson wasn't born racist," Min-jun continued. "He learned it. Maybe from family, maybe from society, maybe from other officers. But somewhere along the way, he learned to see people like me as threats instead of citizens. And nobody in 12 years corrected that thinking. He let that sink in." "You're about to become police officers," Min-jun said. "You'll have authority over people's lives. You'll make split-second decisions that could end in tragedy. And you'll work alongside other officers, some good, some not so good. The question is, what kind of officer will you be?" Min-jun asked. "Will you be the officer who speaks up when you see something wrong? Or will you stay silent to protect your partner? Will you see citizens as people you serve or as potential threats? Will you check your biases or let them control your actions?" A young black recruit raised his hand. "Sir, what if we speak up and nobody listens? What if the system protects bad officers?" "Then you keep speaking up," Min-jun said. "Officer Chen spoke up during my incident. She was a probationary officer challenging a 12-year veteran. That took courage, but she did it anyway because it was right." He saw Chen in the back of the room. She had asked to attend his presentation. She smiled slightly when he mentioned her. "Change happens when good people refuse to be silent," Min-jun said. "It happens when officers like Chen say no to injustice, even when it's risky. It happens when sergeants like Martinez admit mistakes and push for reform. It happens when chiefs like Wilson choose accountability over protecting the department's image." After the presentation, several recruits approached him with questions. A young Latina woman asked about dealing with language barriers. An Asian American man asked about facing prejudice from citizens who don't trust police. A white recruit asked how to recognize bias in himself. Min-jun answered each question thoughtfully. These young officers gave him hope. They were asking the right questions. They wanted to do better. Officer Chen approached after the recruits left. "Thank you for mentioning me," she said. "You earned it," Min-jun said. "You did the right thing when it mattered." "It almost cost me my career," Chen admitted. "Some of the veteran officers don't talk to me anymore. They think I betrayed Thompson." "Do you regret it?" Min-jun asked. Chen thought about it. "No, I couldn't live with staying silent. But it's been hard." "Keep doing the right thing," Min-jun said. "Eventually, people will respect you for it." The reforms at the police department moved forward slowly. The body camera program was implemented first. Every officer now had to wear a camera that activated automatically during stops. The Civilian Oversight Board was established next. It included community members, civil rights advocates, and retired judges. They had real power to investigate complaints and recommend discipline. The bias training program took longer. There was resistance from some officers who saw it as punishment rather than education, but Chief Wilson made it mandatory, and gradually attitudes began to shift. Min-jun participated in several training sessions. He shared his story and answered questions. Some officers were defensive at first, insisting they weren't racist. But as they heard testimony from other victims and saw statistics on disparate policing, many began to understand the problem was bigger than individual attitudes. It's not always about hatred, Min-jun explained in one session. Sometimes it's about unconscious bias. You see an Asian man in a car and some part of your brain flags him as not belonging in this neighborhood. You don't even realize you're doing it, but it affects how you approach the situation. So how do we fix that? An officer asked. By recognizing it, Min-jun said. By questioning your assumptions. By asking yourself, would I have stopped this car if the driver was white? Would I have handcuffed him this quickly? Would I have searched his vehicle? If the answer is no, then you need to check yourself. Meanwhile, Thompson's criminal trial approached. The district attorney offered a plea deal. Plead guilty to reduced charges, accept probation and community service, surrender his police certification permanently. Thompson refused. He wanted a trial. He believed a jury would side with a police officer over a complainant. The trial lasted 2 weeks. Min-jun testified again, telling his story to a jury of 12 citizens. The videos were played. Previous victims testified. Officer Chen and Sergeant Martinez testified. Thompson's lawyer tried to paint Min-jun as overly sensitive and seeking attention. He tried to explain away the statistics as coincidence. He brought character witnesses who described Thompson as a dedicated officer, but the evidence was overwhelming. The videos showed everything. Thompson's own words condemned him, and his social media posts destroyed any claim that race wasn't a factor. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. They found Thompson guilty on all counts. At sentencing, the judge was harsh. Officer Thompson, you were entrusted with authority and power. You abused that trust repeatedly over many years. You violated the constitutional rights of citizens. You damaged relationships between police and the communities they serve. And you showed no remorse for your actions. Thompson received 1 year in jail, 3 years probation, and a permanent ban from law enforcement work anywhere in the country. He was also ordered to complete bias training and community service. It wasn't as much time as Min-jun had hoped for, but it was something. And the permanent ban meant Thompson would never wear a badge again. After the sentencing, Min-jun gave a statement to reporters. This verdict sends a message that police officers are not above the law. They can be held accountable for their actions. That's important for everyone, but he also cautioned against celebrating too much. One conviction doesn't fix systemic problems. We still have work to do to ensure all communities are policed fairly and respectfully. In the months that followed, Min-jun continued his advocacy work. He spoke at police academies across the state. He worked with the Civilian Oversight Board to review use of force policies. He met with community groups to hear their concerns about policing. He also counseled other victims of police misconduct. They reached out to him through social media and email, sharing their stories and asking for advice. He couldn't help everyone, but he tried to point them toward resources and support. Seo-yeon worried about him burning out. You're doing so much, she said one evening. Between your military duties and all this advocacy work, you barely have time for yourself. I know, Min-jun said. But I can't stop. Every time I hear another story of someone being profiled or harassed, I think about how it could have been me again. Or it could be Ji-hoon someday. I have to do what I can. Just remember to take care of yourself too, Seo-yeon said. You can't help anyone if you're exhausted. She was right. Min-jun started setting boundaries. He limited his speaking engagements to twice a month. He stopped checking social media every hour. He made sure to spend time with his family without thinking about police reform. One Saturday, he took Ji-hoon to a basketball game. They ate hot dogs and cheered for the home team and talked about everything except police and justice. It felt good to be normal for a few hours. Dad, Ji-hoon said during halftime, kids at school have been asking me about what happened to you. What do you tell them? Min-jun asked. I tell them my dad is a hero, Ji-hoon said. He stood up to someone with power who was doing wrong things. Min-jun felt his throat tighten. I'm not a hero. I just did what I had to do. That's what makes you a hero, Ji-hoon said. You didn't want to do it. You were scared. But you did it anyway because it was right. Min-jun hugged his son. When did you get so wise? I learned from you, Ji-hoon said. A year after the incident, the police department held an event to recognize community members who had contributed to police reform. Min-jun was invited to attend. Chief Wilson presented him with a civilian commendation. Colonel Park, your courage in speaking up has helped transform this department. You've made us better. You've made our community safer. We're grateful for your leadership. Min-jun accepted the commendation, but he used his speech to shift attention to others. This recognition belongs to everyone who spoke up, he said. To Margaret, who recorded what happened and wasn't afraid to share it. To Officer Chen, who told the truth even when it was difficult. To Sergeant Martinez, who admitted the department had failed. To all the previous victims who testified despite their fear. To the community members who demanded change. Real change doesn't come from one person, Min-jun continued. It comes from many people refusing to accept injustice. It comes from citizens holding institutions accountable. It comes from good officers choosing courage over convenience. He looked at Officer Chen, who stood in the audience in her uniform. She had been promoted to detective after her testimony. She smiled at him. A year ago, I was handcuffed in my neighborhood for no reason except my appearance, Min-jun said. Today, I stand here because people chose to do the right thing. That gives me hope. It should give all of us hope. After the event, Min-jun spoke with several of Thompson's previous victims. They had formed a support group, helping each other heal and advocating for continued police reform. Thank you for not letting this go, one woman told Min-jun. When I complained about Thompson years ago, nobody believed me. Nobody cared. You made people care. I had advantages you didn't have, Min-jun said honestly. Rank, privilege, resources. That's not fair, but it's reality. So I'm using those advantages to amplify voices like yours. What happens next? Another victim asked. Thompson is in jail. The department has new policies. Is it over? It's never over, Min-jun said. We have to keep watching, keep pushing, keep speaking up. Change requires constant effort. That evening, Min-jun sat on his back porch with Seo-yeon, just like he had a year ago when this all began. But now things felt different. Not perfect, but better. Do you think it was worth it? Seo-yeon asked. All the stress, all the public attention, all the fighting? Min-jun thought about it. Yes, because Ji-hoon watched me stand up for what's right. Because Officer Chen learned that speaking truth to power matters. Because Thompson can't hurt anyone else. Because the police department is a little bit better than it was. That's worth it. What about the grocery store? Seo-yeon asked, smiling slightly. Do you avoid Maple Street now? Min-jun laughed. Actually, I drove down Maple Street yesterday. Margaret waved from her porch. A couple walking their dog stopped to say hello. It felt like my neighborhood again. Good, Seo-yeon said. It should be your neighborhood. You belong here just as much as anyone else. They sat in comfortable silence, listening to crickets and distant traffic. Then Min-jun's phone buzzed. A text message from an unknown number. Colonel Park, my name is Lisa. I was pulled over today by a police officer who I think was profiling me. I recorded it on my phone. I don't know what to do. Can you help? Min-jun showed the message to Seo-yeon. Here we go again, she said, but not unkindly. I can't ignore it, Min-jun said. I know, Seo-yeon said. That's why I love you, Min-jun typed a response. Lisa, I'm sorry that happened to you. You're not alone. Let me connect you with some resources and people who can help. He sent her contact information for the Civilian Oversight Board, for David Chen's law office, for the victims' support group. Then he added, you have rights. Don't let anyone make you feel like speaking up is wrong. If you need anything else, reach out anytime. 3 months later, Min-jun received an invitation to speak at a national conference on police reform. Departments from across the country were sending representatives to learn about best practices. He almost declined. He had already given so many speeches, done so many interviews, shared his story so many times. He was tired, but then he thought about Lisa, who had reached out for help. He thought about the young recruits at the police academy, asking how to be better officers. He thought about Ji-hoon, who called him a hero just for doing what was right. He accepted the invitation. At the conference, he shared his story one more time. But he also shared the progress his city had made. The body camera program, the Civilian Oversight Board, The bias training? The increase in community trust. Change is possible, Min-jun told the audience of police chiefs and reform advocates. It's hard. It's uncomfortable. It requires admitting mistakes and confronting uncomfortable truths. But it's possible. After his speech, a police chief from a small town approached him. I have an officer I suspect is profiling minority drivers, the chief said. But I'm not sure how to address it without the union protecting him. Min-jun spent 20 minutes sharing strategies. Document everything, use data to show patterns, implement body cameras, empower good officers to speak up. Make it clear that bias won't be tolerated. Another chief asked about community trust. How do I rebuild relationships after years of bad policing? Start by listening, Min-jun said. Go to community meetings. Hear people's experiences. Acknowledge the harm that was done. Then take concrete action to fix it. Don't just talk about reform, actually do it. A young officer asked how to report misconduct by senior officers without destroying her career. It's risky, Min-jun admitted. Officer Chen faced backlash for telling the truth. But she also became a role model for ethical policing. You have to decide what kind of officer you want to be, the kind who looks away or the kind who speaks up. The conference energized Min-jun in a way he hadn't expected. He saw police leaders who genuinely wanted to do better. He saw communities working with police instead of against them. He saw progress happening, slowly but surely. On the flight home, Min-jun thought about everything that had happened since that Saturday afternoon when he went to buy groceries. The fear, the anger, the exhaustion, but also the connections he'd made, the lives he'd touched, the changes he'd helped create. Thompson was in jail. The police department had reformed. Victims had found their voices. Officers had learned to do better. It wasn't perfect. There was still work to do. Bias still existed. Bad officers still operated in other departments. Communities still faced disproportionate policing, but things were better than they had been. And that was worth fighting for. When Min-jun arrived home, Seo-yeon and Ji-hoon were waiting at the door. Ji-hoon wore his soccer uniform, muddy from practice. How was the conference? Seo-yeon asked. Good, Min-jun said. Really good, actually. Are you done with all this? Ji-hoon asked. Can things go back to normal? Min-jun thought about Lisa's message. About the police chief seeking advice. About the recruits who wanted to be better. About all the people still fighting for justice in their own communities. Not quite done, he said. But maybe things don't need to go back to normal. Maybe they need to become a new kind of normal. What does that mean? Ji-hoon asked. It means we keep working for change, Min-jun said. But we also live our lives. We play soccer and go to basketball games and have family dinners. We remember that fighting for justice is important, but so is joy, so is rest, so is being together. That evening, they had a simple dinner, spaghetti, salad, garlic bread. Nothing fancy, just family time. After dinner, Ji-hoon did homework at the kitchen table while Min-jun helped. Seo-yeon read a book on the couch. The television played quietly in the background. It was ordinary. It was peaceful. It was exactly what Min-jun had wanted that Saturday afternoon a year ago, when he went to buy groceries. And now he had it. Not because Thompson had disappeared or because racism had ended. Those things weren't true. But because Min-jun had stood up and people had listened and systems had changed and communities had come together. He looked at his family, safe and happy in their home. He thought about all the people working for justice across the country. He thought about the young officers learning to do better. He thought about the victims finding their voices. Change was slow. It was difficult. It required constant effort, but it was happening. And Colonel Park Min-jun would keep doing his part to make sure it continued. One conversation at a time, one speech at a time, one act of courage at a time, because that was what service meant. Not just wearing a uniform and leading soldiers, but standing up for what was right, even when it was hard. Especially when it was hard. That was the real measure of character. That was the real meaning of honor. And that was a legacy worth leaving for his son.